So hygiene really can be the backbone of a practice, or it can be the weakest link. And so we're going to look at, what are some of those tangible benchmarks, right? There are some of the things we mentioned earlier that are the intangibles, right? The building the relationships, the overall health impact. Sometimes those are things that we can't specifically measure, but they're just as important as all of our hard stats, right? So let's look at some of those stats that we measure from an industry standpoint, and I want you to write these down, and then you can always go back and see where do we stand against some of these benchmarks, right? So for hygiene to be the backbone of the practice, a few things need to be true. One is, we are responsible in a very large part for, that first impression, for building those relationships, as we spend a lot of time with our patients and we get to see them very frequently, right? So everybody on the team is involved in that, as is hygiene. But one of the things that we've got to do as a hygiene department is we've got to be profitable. And we'll talk about this a bit. This is that 3-to-1 ratio that's very common in our industry. And I'm going to go into that in detail. What does it mean? What does hygiene need to be producing in order to be profitable? And how do we make that possible? How do we make that a reality? 35%. This is the level of perio awareness. So your perio procedures compared to prophies, you want your perio procedures to be at least 35%. And I'm going to give you a formula to look at your perio potential, so you can see, okay, how well are we performing against what our potential is, right, based on what you tell me you think it is. 60%. 60% is the amount of restorative that should be enrolled in hygiene, right? Restorative or other types of doctor procedures. 60% of that should be enrolled in hygiene as a team effort between the dentist and the hygienist, okay? And then the last benchmark we look at a lot is open time. So we want to have 10% or less open time in the hygiene schedule.